Okay, good morning, everyone. This is our 2024 Strength workshop or teaching or invitation. Think of this as a meditation. So grab your journal. You can always come back to it all year, but let's just take a minute to pause into being together, into the privilege of having time and space to listen to this or watch it. And I'm really grateful for the lineage of spiritual, physical, emotional, political teachings that inspire us through difficult times. So just pausing to appreciate and taking a breath here. All right, let's jump in because there's a few things I want to say before we get started. Actually, as our intro, but first thing is, in tarot, I am using the Mother Peace deck. It is a circular deck, as you can see. I've been using this deck for a few years, and I'm going to continue using it this year so I can keep deepening with it, which means that in my new moon practice, I pick a card for the month, and I return to that card throughout the month as reminders. So I am staying with the same deck I've been using. It is not the traditional, there are a few versions of traditional decks. This is like literally a whole other workshop. But the point I want to make is that this particular deck, this Mother Peace deck, is a feminist version deck, and it is I think, what does it say on here? 1981 is the first one. And the representations can be a little bit different. The thing I want you to know is that often in these decks, there is a reversal of the card number 8, which is in some decks, strength and fortitude, and card number 11, which is justice. As you see here, 11 is the number of strength in this deck. And this year is 2024, which is an 8-year. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 equals 8. And 8 is the number we are focusing on for this year. Now, I chose, because of the messages of strength, because of how prevalent it is in the numerology of it, the Hebrew letter Chet, there's all of these things that feel like, no, this is the strength year. Now, having said that, there is a relationship to card 11 in most decks, which is justice. And I will probably do a follow-up on that so that we have kind of these like balancing parallels that we're working with strength, fortitude, and justice this year. But today's workshop is on strength and what that means for us in 2024. So this is the Mother Peace deck, like I said. And if you look right here, you see this woman represented. This is a representation of the goddess Bridget, the Irish fairy goddess. And there's so many wonderful resources on Bridget. And who she is and what she stands for and all the different realms that she stands for. And I invite you to do your own research around her themes, but I want you to know who is represented here, and then you can do some homework studies as to why you think she might be represented here. But this is the Irish fairy goddess, Bridget. Okay. So as I said before, there are a variety in the decks. I'm going to speak from this deck, but also what are the themes that carry through any of the decks. So if you have a tarot deck that you're working with, look at your card 8 and see if it's strength, fortitude, or justice. And what themes do you see that pull through from what I'm going to teach today, the overlapping themes and how that relates to your life. Now, because we're entering the year, and we're just kind of starting to dream into them and we're working with them, we're not going to have the full insight from the hindsight that we'll have once we're in a year from now, right? We just finished a 7-year, a chariot year, and now we're beginning to integrate all of the lessons learned from last year, all of the themes learned from last year are coming alive in our life, and we're able to look back and reflect on them. So we have these spaces where we kind of say, okay, here's the intention we're setting, here's what's ahead, here are some ways I can be with what's coming. And then we look back and say, oh, wow, here's how this, I didn't realize it was going to show up this way, and this way, and this way. So that's where we work with the intentionality of these teachings. I'll keep looking down because I have a lot of notes here, so I apologize. Okay, so we talked about Bridget. The other thing I want to point out here is that we have in this deck 12 animals, plus her, plus Bridget as an animal, obviously. And that represents 13 moons of the Indigenous lunar calendar. And this is important because I will not be going into today what each of these animals actually represents, because that would be like a 5-hour workshop in terms of what do we see with each of these spirit animals, which each of these familiars, which what are the themes of each of them. Again, I invite you, if you want to go further, you can do that. If you reach out to me, I'm happy to go through each of these with you. We can do a separate follow-up, but I'm just kind of dripping some information based on the overall themes without going so deep and getting us lost in that. I think it's really important when we're working with symbols and myths and tarot and these teachings to say, okay, what are the themes that actually pull into my life right now? And what can I work with now? And then maybe in the summer we'll go through the animals or something, right? 6 months later, so that we kind of really integrate this card throughout the whole year. But I did think it's really cool that those are the number of animals they put in a nod to the 13 indigenous moons in the lunar calendar. Okay, so let's start with her positionality. As you can see, she's sitting on the ground, on the earth, and her legs are open. This is a representation of feeling safe enough to expose her true self, her passion for life, her lust, and the earth. The open legs represent feeling safe and grounded, right? She's sitting on the earth, and her legs are open. In one hand, so we've got the safety, we've got the groundedness. Can you already see some themes for this year? How can we feel safe in our body, embodied, and grounded? And this will directly relate to our relationship with the earth and those around us, right? Here, she's in community. She is in community. She is surrounded by beings. This is a representation of her coming to her place of power. She is powerful here. She is embodied. She is open. She is her full, true self. Oftentimes the strength card is called the Beauty and the Beast. In the traditional decks, you will see a woman dressed in white, which is a spiritual representation. White clothing is often associated with spiritual practices and not necessarily purity. It's not that. It's more sacred honoring. Like the dress is like I'm my full self. And that's often represented. So I said the card is often represented as Beauty and the Beast because in the traditional decks, she has her, there's a lion, and the lion represents the beast and she represents the beauty and the power that is created from Beauty and the Beast, and acknowledging our beast parts and our animal nature along with our spiritual nature. So that's the traditional picture, which if you look up or Google strength card, Rider-Waite tarot, that's what you'll find. But here, our Beauty and the Beast is really different. She's naked, open, whole, embodied, and the beasts are all around her. And this is what we need in terms of coming into our full power and our passion. This is a very sexuality and lust plays in here to the Mother Peace deck in terms of our power being also linked not only to the fire of our passion in life and the actions we take, but also in owning our sexuality and seeing it as a gift. So she's holding the sun. Do you see that? She's holding the sun in her left hand. And this represents her ego. It represents the fullness of her shining, of her more front-facing energy, typically called masculine energy, um, typically called yang energy, right? The full expression of the coming out and being seen, and really being seen. I took a note on this somewhere else. Like being seen in the world and using your strength in the world. That's what that sun represents. Ego shining, purpose, power. But if you notice on the right hand, she is caring for the animal. She is touching that white rabbit, maybe petting it, maybe just caring for it, holding it. And the rabbit represents the moon, the earth, and night consciousness, right? And the kind of softer, gentler. So we've got the kind of beastie, um, more vicious, more aggressive, more bright energy here. And then down here, we've got more of the natural, compassionate, nourishing energy down here, with the representation of the white rabbit and the expression of the body here. And even throughout this year, may we pause and be in our body with that symbolization, with that symbol, with that representation in our body. That sun, we can feel it. We're out, we're doing what we're here to do, and we are caring for the earth and nature and each other, right? And so, like, we can actually use that stance, that shape throughout the year to remind us of this wholeness of all these parts integrating into ourselves. So we have the inner fire and desire that impacts and transforms the powerful unseen magic. So this is in general for the strength card, that sun and the burning and the fire represents desire and the transformation of powerful unseen magic. You can also see that here through the fact that the full moon is shining down. Okay. Next teaching here is that for strength card in general is that we're working with this type of solar and lunar energy together, the sun and the moon together, and that we don't have fear around this path, or we're invited to not have fear around this path because, and here's, I love this teaching so much, because of the connection that we have to community and the earth. So if you see here, this connection between the animals, the earth, and Bridget, that's where we get our strength. The strength comes from caring for the earth, being grounded, and shining our light in the world and doing what we're here to do, our highest and best, staying in service of humanity in the world in the way that is most aligned with our strengths. And she's not there alone, it's community and connection to the earth and natural rhythms, the full moon, other beings that give us the strength. This feels so important right now as a reminder all year, connection to community and earth in order to find our strength. Bridget is an archetype of freedom, independence, and especially this version of her, freedom, independence, interdependence. So she is open, she is strong, she's vulnerable, she's passionate, and there's interdependence, right? You can see the blending of the beings and the earth and the moon and the sun. And she knows how to use her life force. There is a sense within that groundedness of right pace, right rhythm. This card represents our matrilineal consciousness, our matriarchal consciousness, the feminine consciousness that is needed in the world to bring a sense of regulation to a very out of balance masculine solar yang energy that is in the world, that this year we're invited, we need more of this grounded mothery, matriarchal consciousness. And it comes with the fire and also the sexuality and these symbols of earth, nature, rhythm, moon, sun, right? This connection to lineage of ancient times, and all of times. This is what she's bringing as her gift, is this consciousness of, let me bring all my parts here. Let me show you my strengths and work within the strength. So we're using strength as an invitation, but also as a reminder that we have strengths to give the world and to bring in the world. And how do we do that best? This picture is also often represented as this particular earth picture, this particular land picture is called the navel of the world. And so she's sitting on the navel of the world. Okay, she's also often called the Lady of the Beast here, or working with the beast, the earth and the Lady of the Beast, and she's representing a strong mind, body, and spirit. Okay, just a few more things here. As I said, each animal representing something more deep, which we're not going into here, but I invite you as your kind of homework or follow-up to look at that. Oh, I love this one. So in yoga philosophy, there is a phrase around tapas as a path, and tapas is often translated as burning through or heat. And the invitation for this card is that it's the power of healing by tapas. So healing with that heat, with that solar that's represented, because it's the heat that heals. So what that means in our lives is really around the discernment practices we have around what's for us and what's not for us. And I love that tapas is brought in here to the Mother Pieces writing about this, because it reminds us that it's not just going to come easily to us, that we have to be in a strong relationship, a dynamic relationship with our strengths, what's for us and what's not for us, and help us burn through so that we get the heat that heals. And that might be strengthening a meditation practice, strengthening a movement practice, a journaling practice, like or a business. You might be writing a book or starting a business, and you're like, I need to focus on doing this. It might be looking, I've got a bunch of candles right here. It might be candle gazing each day. Like, what are the things that will help us burn through some of the karmic patterns that we have that will help us hone our strengths? Now, it can also be extremely literal with like weight training. Like, am I lifting weights? How am I building strength of the physical body? So this is so powerful in terms of how we dream, how we practice healing, and how we explore our states of consciousness. And that is part of holistic strength, is it's not just the physical body, it's the energetic, mental, relational. And that leads me to kind of like the now what. And this is where I want you to really translate, what are these strengths for you in your life? What does holistic strength training look like? And some of the things I was thinking about are just, maybe you could write out a few strength practices that you want to engage in this year. I've been doing mine, and it's actually been, it just feels really energizing, especially in a time where I feel like I have no power towards um, peace and healing the world in the way I want to. I can actually align and focus strength training of the mind, body, soul, which has been extremely energizing for taking action in the things I care most deeply about, transforming and being hyper focused. Actually, I would just say aware that here are my strengths, here's what I can give, and here's how I support the transformation in the world that I want to see. And that it's really honed the energy in a way that I didn't have last year in the chariot year, because I wasn't intentionally attuning to strength daily. And so I was getting, and the reason I say that is I was getting like, where do I belong? And I'm not doing enough. And there was just no container. And now it feels like strength has honed all the energy to be very focused and aware on what my role is, and what my place is in this peace world that I would like to build. Um, So strength practices for the year, it's great to put reminders on the new moon and the full moon to revisit strength, right? So all throughout the year, you have this rhythm of revisiting your strength card. If you have a tarot deck, like I leave it right on my altar for the whole year, so I keep seeing it. And when I do my new moon intentions and my full moon reflections and illuminations, I'm just revisiting so that it's really integrating. And then it just is really, it really simplifies my practice because I'm attuning to one thing all year. Um, I talked a little bit about strength making is part of us being seen, using our strength of heart, mind, body, soul in the world. What does that look like for you? And then also, I think one of the key messages or themes for strength in our world is around strengthening our relationships and really courageous conversations and feeling brave and courageous in clear speech and communication and strengthening our discernment. These are all things that I feel like have been coming up a lot with my clients and groups and things like that in terms of skills that we're all building. So how do we strengthen relationship and communication this year? Because they are skills that we can build, especially with reflection and intentionality. Okay, so I'm going to close this part with a reading. Actually, I wanted to add one more piece in, which is I looked up what the Hebrew letter number 8 is because again, this is a whole different workshop, but the Hebrew letters and the tarot and the Kabbalistic teachings all intertwine. Again, kind of to be continued about that. But I looked up what the Hebrew letter number 8 is for this year to see how it felt and aligned with our strength card, and it's Chet. And I love this book called The Hebrew Letters Speak by Nancy Handwerger. And she takes a bunch of teachings and paths and kind of blends them so that each letter has its own meditation. And so here's the one on Chet that I thought would be, that just aligns so beautifully about vitality and life personified. Um, so Chet is around life-enhancing energy. Energy abounds for all, um, transcendence and wholeness. The primary role of this letter is earthbound, anchored in earth with vital resources. I am solid with an inner flame that transcends to nowhere and everywhere. I am unique. I am vitality and life personified. As feminine energy, I link between wisdom and spirituality. I am holistic in dimensions. My roots stand in earth and fire, tall and strong. I filter the fire from above and provide protection in my own house. I surround you with love and joy. I give you energy to live fully today and tomorrow. I stand upright and I am not lonely. I welcome and support others around me when they need extra strength and divine awareness. So you can look up Chet. It's often transliterated as CHET and see how you feel about that letter, what comes out of it. All right, so here is, I'm going to take a breath and just get some water and read this from the Mother Peace book by Vicki Noble. The end part of the strength writings and teachings are just really, really touched my heart. So here is my offering for you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these beautiful words from the Mother Peace book. Strength means you're experiencing yourself as ready and able to get what you want in life. Grounded and centered in your experience of energy, you know from the heart what you need. Since your own needs are not cut off from the needs of others, you are probably able to provide energy for others at this time, consciously lending a hand. You may be reaching out to heal or touch another life, and you do this with a passion and sense of caring. Your moral strength is alive right now, your courage and sense of conviction powerful as you express your feelings openly and move others in this way. Just as the priestess in the image, Bridget, is surrounded by the green of the fairy world, so there is magic afoot in your life at this time. Try wishing for what you've always wanted and manifesting. The animal friends around the priestess attest to help you can get from the various worlds around you. Try tuning into the animal world. Try tuning into the earth world. The earth is a source of power for you now. Take time to sit quietly and feel the magnetic power of earth, her rocks and plants and trees and rivers and hills. We all will benefit enormously. Our psychic powers are ready to open. Our dreams may become more vivid. You may hear your own inner oracle voice. Like your heart feelings, your libido is strong now. Setting your sights on what you want in the way of a lover or a partner, go after it. The energy is here for you. The overhanging tree of life behind the priestess reminds you that the goddess protects and nurtures. Her open arms embrace you, and the full moon shines her light on your and our endeavors. Okay, beloveds, may this strength year be a gift to you, your family, your community, and our world. We are so interconnected, and doing this beautiful work for ourselves impacts all of us around. May we find peace, 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 and use our strengths to contribute to the world that we all want to be in.